Deep in the misty mountains of ancient China, hidden chambers hold crumbling scrolls with secrets that promised eternal life. Imagine standing before an emperor's tomb, where mercury rivers flow beneath the earth, not as decoration, but as part of an elaborate alchemical formula designed to preserve his body for all eternity. The irony, this very elixir killed him instantly. Throughout history, powerful men and women have consumed jade powders, cinnabar concoctions, and gold solutions, all in desperate pursuit of immortality. Yet their obsession often led to the exact opposite, accelerated death. What drives humans to such extremes? And what if some of these ancient Taoist masters actually succeeded? What if right now immortals walk among us, witnesses to centuries of human history, keepers of secrets we can barely comprehend? The ancient Chinese whispered of mountain sages who lived for hundreds of years, their bodies transformed by mysterious practices. Were these merely legends, or could there be something more? What we're about to uncover might challenge everything we think we know about life, death, and the blurry line between them. The quest for immortality wasn't just a spiritual journey in ancient China, it was imperial policy. When the first emperor of unified China, Qin Shi Huang, seized power in 221 BCE, he immediately launched expeditions to find the elixir of life. Imagine the pressure on his court alchemists. Failure meant execution, success meant eternal glory. These weren't fringe mystics, but government officials with substantial budgets and imperial authority. The Taoist approach to immortality wasn't one-dimensional. It encompassed external alchemy, Weiden, involving the creation of elixirs from minerals and metals, and internal alchemy, Naden, focusing on meditation, breath control, and visualization techniques. Both paths promised the same reward, transcending human limitations and joining the celestial immortals. But what happens when desperation meets power? Emperor Wu of Han sent thousands on quests for immortality plants. He consumed so many experimental elixirs that his behavior became erratic, paranoid, violent, and delusional. Court records describe him executing officials who questioned his immortality obsession. The very pursuit meant to extend his life likely shortened it considerably. Perhaps the most tragic figure was Emperor Jia of the Ming dynasty. For 40 years, he consumed elixirs containing mercury, lead, and arsenic. His skin reportedly turned black, his mind deteriorated, and he suffered excruciating pain, all while his alchemists assured him these were signs of transformation. He died at 60, his body poisoned by the very substances meant to preserve it. What if these emperors had simply misunderstood the Taoist texts? The character for immortality, Xian, combines person with mountain, suggesting someone who retreats from society. What if true immortality wasn't about extending physical life, but transcending attachment to it? Yet not all seekers met tragic ends. The legendary 8 immortals of Taoist tradition supposedly discovered the secret through different paths. Lu Dongbin, once a failed civil servant, allegedly lived for 400 years after meeting an immortal in a tavern. Zhang Guoluo reportedly died and returned to life, demonstrating control over his spirit. Could these stories contain kernels of truth? Consider the case of Li Qingyun, who reportedly died in 1933 claiming to be 256 years old. Imperial Chinese records from the 1700s mention him as an already elderly herbalist. Newspapers interviewed him in his final years, where he described centuries of wandering the mountains, collecting herbs and practicing qigong. Modern skeptics dismiss his claims, yet multiple independent sources documented his extraordinary longevity. What's particularly fascinating is how these immortality practices shaped Chinese medicine. Techniques originally designed to achieve immortality evolved into practical health methods still used today. The line between medicine and mysticism blurred. What began as spiritual alchemy transformed into empirical science through centuries of trial and error. But here's where the mystery deepens. What if some of these practices actually worked, just not in the way their practitioners expected? What if the greatest irony in this ancient quest was that those who actively pursued physical immortality died prematurely, while those who understood its deeper meaning potentially achieved something remarkable. The historical record reveals a startling pattern. Court alchemists and emperors obsessed with literal immortality consistently poisoned themselves, while mountain hermits practicing internal alchemy often lived unusually long lives. Consider the shocking case of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. Recent archaeological findings from his tomb revealed hair samples containing mercury levels over 100 times the natural amount. The very substance he believed would make him immortal killed him at just 49. But here's the twist. His alchemists weren't completely wrong about mercury's properties. In controlled amounts, certain mercury compounds do preserve organic material, just not living tissue. They essentially created the perfect formula for preserving a corpse while accelerating death. Even more mind-bending is the case of Xu Fu, the court sorcerer sent by Emperor Qin to find immortality herbs in the eastern seas. Historical records indicate he departed with 3,000 young men and women, never to return. Japanese chronicles, however, mention a mysterious Chinese sage arriving around the same time, bringing new agricultural and medicinal knowledge. What if Xu Fu realized the emperor's quest was doomed and instead sought a different kind of immortality, through cultural legacy rather than physical persistence? The most provocative evidence comes from the Wudang Mountains, where Taoist masters practiced internal alchemy. In 1989, researchers discovered the remarkably preserved body of a 600-year-old monk named Zhang Qinghe. His body showed no signs of artificial preservation, yet hadn't decomposed normally. Medical examinations revealed unusual cellular structures and mineral deposits throughout his tissues. Scientists remain baffled by how his body achieved this state naturally. Could centuries of qigong, meditation, and dietary practices have fundamentally altered his physiology? What's particularly fascinating is how modern science is inadvertently validating some ancient Taoist concepts. Recent studies on intermittent fasting, certain breathing techniques, and meditation show measurable effects on cellular aging processes. The Taoist practice of bigu, avoiding grains, seems bizarre until you consider research on how certain dietary restrictions activate longevity pathways. They were onto something, just centuries ahead of our understanding. Perhaps the most profound revelation is how Taoist immortality seekers understood something we're only now rediscovering. The mind-body connection isn't metaphorical, but literal. Their visualization practices, dismissed for centuries as superstition, bear striking resemblances to modern techniques used in sports psychology and neuroplasticity training. What if they developed methods for influencing physiological processes through mental discipline that we're only beginning to comprehend? The ultimate question remains, did any of them actually achieve immortality? And if so, would we even recognize it if they had? Perhaps the true secret of Taoist immortality was hidden in plain sight all along. The Chinese character for immortality doesn't just mean never dying. It suggests transformation, like a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. What if the ancient texts weren't promising endless physical existence, but something far more profound, transcending our limited understanding of what life and death actually are? Consider the paradoxical wisdom in the Tao Te Ching. The sage puts himself last and finds himself in the foremost place. Those emperors who desperately grasped at immortality found only death, while humble hermits who accepted mortality allegedly transcended it. It's as if the universe has a sense of irony, or perhaps a deeper logic we're still struggling to comprehend. The most compelling evidence for successful immortality practices might not be found in undying bodies, but in living traditions. Techniques developed by ancient Taoist masters survive today in Qigong, Tai Chi, and traditional Chinese medicine. Their knowledge lives on, continuously evolving, perhaps the only true immortality humans can achieve. After all, what's more, immortal. A single preserved body or ideas that continue to transform millions of lives across millennia. Modern longevity research is unwittingly following paths laid down by Taoist alchemists centuries ago. Scientists studying caloric restriction, intermittent fasting, And certain compounds like resveratrol are essentially pursuing external alchemy with modern tools. Meanwhile, research into meditation's effects on telomere length and gene expression mirrors internal alchemy's principles. The ancient and modern approaches are converging in unexpected ways. What if we're asking the wrong questions about immortality? Instead of, how can I live forever? Perhaps we should ask, what part of us is already eternal? The Taoists suggested that by aligning with the eternal Tao, the underlying pattern of reality, we participate in something that transcends individual existence. Maybe true immortality isn't about extending our separate self, but recognizing we're expressions of something timeless. The mystery of China's immortality seekers remains unsolved. Were the legendary Immortals merely symbolic teaching devices, or did some practitioners actually discover something extraordinary? We may never know for certain, but perhaps that uncertainty itself is part of the teaching, a reminder that the greatest mysteries aren't meant to be solved, but experienced. Next time you hear about some Silicon Valley billionaire investing millions in life extension technology, remember Emperor Qin in his mercury-laden tomb. The more desperately we clutch at immortality, the more it seems to slip through our fingers. Yet those who embrace the flow of existence might touch something truly timeless. And that's our hunt for today, a journey through ancient China's paradoxical pursuit of eternal life, where those who sought immortality often died prematurely, while those who embraced mortality may have transcended it. A wild mix of documented history and tantalizing what-ifs based on bibliographical sources. What do you think? Could some of these ancient masters have discovered secrets we're still struggling to understand? Hit subscribe for more mysteries that challenge our understanding of history and human potential.